Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Josh All Alone, your host today. Hope everybody's week has gotten off to a fantastic start. And we're going to break down yet another mock draft for the Cleveland Browns. That's right. Today is mock draft 4.0. And, I was putting everything together for this show, and I just kept thinking, why do people do the mock draft 1.0, 2.0 stuff? Just call it mock 1, 2, and 3. Well, for this specific reason is why you do the 1.0, 2.0, because today is not just 4.0. Today is mock draft 4.1 and 4.2. That's right. I've got two variations of this mock draft because there's so much debate going on right now on Browns Twitter, just around Browns Nation and in the national media and just everywhere about whether or not the Browns are going to take a quarterback at 2, or the betting favorite is Abdul Carter at 2. So let's take a look through two different mock drafts and see how they shake out depending which route we decide to go. So the first mock 4.1 will be starting things off with a quarterback. Mock 4.2 will be starting things off with Abdul Carter, and we will go from there. Before I dive into these, and by the way, they're probably going to be split into two different episodes, so they're easier to navigate. So just be on the lookout. If you're in this episode right here, the mock 4.2 will be the episode right after this one in the listing. But anyway, before we dive into the names on the list, make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube, tap the notification bell, and don't miss any of the new episodes. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. Draft night is less than a month away now, which is just insane, but we're here. We are in the home stretch of trying to get things figured out for the Cleveland Browns this upcoming season, and draft night's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to be live for the first round and breaking everything down with you guys. It's going to be a blast. Kenny Mack will be in studio with us. Ton of fun. Can't wait to put on that show. So before I dive in here to, obviously, Round 1, pick 2 is going to be Shedeur Sanders, because yesterday was Cam Ward's pro day, and basically the entire Tennessee Titans organization was there. I mean, everybody, like the list of credentialed members from the Titans is very, very long. The list of credentialed members from the Cleveland Browns organization, not quite so long. And I know there's been a lot of debate on, like ESPN 850 and just on Twitter and stuff, social media, about whether or not the Browns, should Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski have been present at Cam Ward's pro day. I mean, the Titans had their head coach, their GM. I mean, was the owner there too? I think everybody was freaking there from Tennessee. And a couple people from the Browns, I know they did meet with Cam Ward one-on-one at some point during the pro day and everything. But, all in all, the Browns, not a strong presence there at the pro day versus Tennessee, which, by all accounts, guys, Cam Ward's gone. Just forget about him. He's gone. If you wanted him, I should say. If you didn't want him, then that you don't care. But if you're like me and you want him, and he's not going to be available. He's going number 1 to the Titans, and I think that's pretty much a done deal. So we need to shift our sights, kind of forget about that. Just me personally, I just feel Cam Ward is the best quarterback. I mean, if you watch, I understand, pro day, throwing against air, no defense. I get it. Got it. Good. Still got to be able to throw the ball, and the dude can rip it. And then I've been watching more film breakdowns over the weekend and thing with Cam Ward, and it's just like, this dude has got superstar potential. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying he's got the potential. I will not be surprised in the least if at some point in his career, obviously it won't be as a rookie, but at some point, this guy could be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. So he's a guy to keep an eye on. But pick 2, we are taking in the mock draft 4.1, Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado, 6'2", 215, 23 years old, yada, 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 most accurate passer. We know the story on Shedeur Sanders. The story we're not so sure about is whether or not Deion Sanders, his dad, is making a push for Shedeur to go be drafted by the New York Giants at number 3. And the reason I say that, if you didn't see the recent postings and stuff on social media, allegedly, and I say allegedly because there is no current video produced, transcript produced, or anything like that of Deion actually saying this. But allegedly, I think it was some a person on YouTube who was at this conference, and I forget the name of it off the top of my head, I apologize, where Shedeur Sanders was a speaker, and at some point during his interview or his segment where he was speaking, he was asked about where he thinks Shedeur is going to play, and allegedly Shedeur Sanders said, "We're hoping for New York," meaning most likely the Giants, because they're the ones in position to make it happen. So there's been a lot of speculation. Did he actually say that? Was that true? Was it not true? There's really no video evidence of him saying it. The conference was, I think, 5 days ago or a week ago or something. Either way, there's been enough time between when he supposedly said it to now that if he did actually say it, I'm sure somebody would have put it out there before now. But then again, I don't know if it was a very prevalent conference or anything like that with a whole lot of notoriety around it. So maybe there just wasn't a ton of media coverage to really pick it up and run with it and get it the attention that it would have gotten otherwise. So I don't know. Bottom line, Shedeur Sanders will be available at pick 2. And in this mock draft, just as I believe they should, the Browns are taking Shedeur Sanders at number 2. All right, so we kicked off the draft with the quarterback the way that the Browns need to do it, the way that we want them to do it. I think they need to do it that way. Got to have a quarterback. I don't care about the other. I mean, all the other positions are important, but we saw last year, you can have a top 6 receiver in the NFL. You can have the best, defensive player in the NFL. You can have one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, a future Hall of Fame guard. Doesn't matter. We won 3 games because we had no quarterback play. So we get the quarterback, and now here at pick 33, the first pick in the second round, we get the guy that I and this show and a lot of other people now online have been pining for, and it is Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. 6'1", 202 pounds, 22 years old. I did a breakdown on him, his statistics and everything in the last episode when I broke down like the top 10 wide receivers for the Browns to draft. Go check that out if you want more information on Egbuka. But his draft position on Mock Draft Database, which I use for all these mocks, Mock Draft Database really compiles all the mock drafts being done out there and gives you basically an average draft position for each player in the NFL draft. And what I've been monitoring with some of these players, Egbuka is one of them, because I want him, is he kind of started out in an ADP like maybe low 20, 21, something like that. And then he started to slide to the mid-20s. Here in recent weeks, he's kind of been around 28, 29. And now, today, when I'm putting this mock draft together, Emeka Egbuka is at ADP of 30. So he's getting closer and closer to being available outside the first round. I still believe he's a first-round pick. I still believe somebody takes him in the first round. But if the situation arises where they do not, and Emeka Egbuka does not get his name called on night 1, the Browns have got to draft him at the first pick on night 2. So the chance is growing more and more real that he's available at 33. Now, disclaimer, if the Browns pull off the trade for Brandon Ayuk with the 49ers, I don't think 33 goes to a wide receiver. Make no mistake, whether we get Ayuk or don't get Ayuk, I would still 100%, if it were me personally, I would still take Egbuka at 33 because, Ayuk and Jeudy are great. They would be great route runners, great receivers for the Browns to have, for the rookie quarterback to have. Ayuk's 27, Judy's almost 26, so they're not old by any stretch, but they're also kind of right in that prime of their career. And I think Judy's got probably a little bit longer. We'll see how things go for him. But it's time to find that young stud wide receiver who can come in and contribute early on in his career, but can grow into that potential future wide receiver 1 here in a couple years over the course of his rookie contract. And I think for me, Ayuk or no Ayuk, like I said, I would take Egbuka. But again, if we do pull off that trade for Ayuk, I think 33 will go a different route. Okay, 67, the third pick in the third round. It's time to get the backfield fixed. And I said online earlier in the week that with the moves the Browns have made so far in free agency, they have really started accumulating quality depth and potential fill-in players and things like that on the defensive side of the ball. So they're really attacking that side. They have done nothing on offense. They've signed Cornelius Lucas to be your backup swing tackle, and they traded for Kenny Pickett. Whoop-de-doo. We've done jack squat on offense, and that's why, I mean, obviously they are in the talks for a trade for Brandon Ayuk, so they are looking at improving wide receiver. They've done nothing in the running back department. They've done nothing in the tight end department. This draft, everything is setting up for the Browns to go heavy offense focus in the draft. And they continue that at 67 with one of my favorite running backs in this draft, and it's Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. He was my running back I took in mock 1.0, 6'1", 225, 21 years old. Now he ran a 4.57 in the 40 at the combine. And honestly, I know that sounds slow, and it's not the best 40 time anyone's ever done by any stretch. But that could really work in the Browns' favor because he did not blaze at the 40. But let me tell you, just turn on the tape. This guy has top speed when he is on the football field. His football game speed it's insane. He is the workhorse back that the Browns are looking for. He's got a 3-down skill set. That's something that teams covet. And really the thing that I'm finding with him, going through all of his, people breaking him down analysis, he just really needs to work more at his pass protection. And hopefully, a coach like Deuce Staley can help him improve in that area and all that kind of stuff. But this kid's got everything you could possibly want. Again, just 21 years old, a good young age for a big, strong workhorse running back. It's just, if Caleb Johnson is available at 67, I don't know how the Browns pass on him other than trying to be too smart, because they do that. 240 carries in 2024, 1,537 yards, 21 freaking touchdowns. He also caught 22 passes for 188 yards, 2 more touchdowns through the air. That's a 6.4 yards per carry, 1,060 yards after contact. That's insane. He had a 4.42 yards after contact per attempt. That's the second highest mark in this draft class, behind only Ashton Genty. So what that data tells me is when this dude gets hit, he's not going down. He gets contacted and he stays up and he keeps going and gets more yards. He is a bruiser. He's got shiftiness for his size. He's got breakaway speed despite the slower 40. Just, if you guys haven't watched the tape, you need to go check it out. He's a ton of fun to watch. Now, a lot of, statistics from college and things, you can't just like one-to-one translate those obviously to the NFL. It's different competition level and all that kind of stuff. But one stat that we know does translate, or as they sometimes call it, is sticky from college to the NFL, is scoring touchdowns. So if you've got a nose for the end zone in college, your odds of being a good, scoring running back in the NFL are pretty good. 21 touchdowns, 4th most in the entire nation this past year. Come on, Caleb Johnson, freaking awesome. Hey, Browns fans, we just want to remind you guys, go check out the Living for We podcast. Living for We, keep your head up, addresses the troubles of gun violence and offers solutions for those who want to better their community. You'll hear from Amir and Drew, 2 black men who picked up a gun as kids because they felt they had no other choice. Andre Taylor, a community leader stepping into schools to break the cycle. Walter Patton, founder of Ghetto Therapy, bringing mental health support straight into the neighborhood. These are real stories, real struggles, and real solutions. Living for We is an award-winning podcast from Idea Stream Public Media, part of the Connecting the Dots Between Race and Health initiative. This season, host Maureen Harris-Taylor and her new co-host Maisha Watkins, executive director of the Cleveland Peacemakers, bring you stories from the front lines, victims, survivors, and those fighting for change. New episodes drop every Tuesday, and they started last month on February 11th. Listen to Living for We wherever you get your podcast, or watch the video version on IdeaStream's YouTube channel. Learn more at ideastream.com/podcast/living-for-we. All right, 94, the 30th pick in the 3rd round, the Browns' second third-round pick this year that may or may not be going to San Francisco for Brandon Ayuk. We will see. But the Browns are going to pull the trigger on their first defensive player in the draft here at the end of the 3rd round, since they did not take Abdul Carter at number 2. And I still don't understand all the people pining for an edge rusher. If people are saying, like, if you don't go Abdul Carter, you got to take an edge rusher at 33. Why? We need offense. What are you talking about? So we did it. We took running back. We took a receiver. We took quarterback, receiver, running back. We nailed offensive skill positions, boom, boom, boom in the draft. Now, here at the end of the third round, let's go ahead and kick it over to defense, and we're taking Oluwafemi Oladejo, the edge rusher out of UCLA. And yes, that name probably is pronounced wrong, but I'm doing my best. 6'3", 259, 21 years old. Let's see, in 2024, he had 57 tackles, 4.5 sacks. His NFL draft profile says linebacker turned edge rusher, so very similar to Abdul Carter. Draft profile might have gone from dull to dynamic with that switch. Oladejo is long and aggressive in attacking blockers in front of him. A lack of instincts in the run game and plans as a pass rusher could be temporary bumps in the road that should be smoothed out with good coaching. He greets and discards blockers with powerful, twitchy hands and still plays with a linebacker's range and nose for the football despite his new position at the edge. He catches the developmental tag relative to his edge experience, but his traits and tape suggest he will make a difference sooner than expected. So this guy would be another great high potential prospect here at the end of the third round. You throw him into that opposite edge rotation from Myles Garrett. You throw him in with Joe Tryon and Obo Okoronkwo and Isaiah McGuire, Alex Wright. I think that really helps solidify your defensive line on the edges. Okay, 10 picks later, 104, the fourth pick in the fourth round, and we are staying defense, and we are staying on the defensive line. We know Andrew Berry drafts a defensive tackle in every draft, and he never takes his first one later than the fourth round. So here with our fourth round pick, we are going to take Ty Robinson, the defensive tackle out of Nebraska, 6'5", 288 pounds, 24 years old. So he's a little bit of an older prospect. Now that age might have him off the Browns board, but I'm going to ignore it here because I could see Andrew Berry at this point in the draft getting greedy to get his defensive line. You know, he loves to draft these guys, and adding a guy like Robinson, if he's available here, might just be too much to pass up. 37 tackles in 2024, 7 sacks, and a forced fumble. His prospect profile says he is a bully with a roughshod playing style that forces blockers to match his physicality. Robinson is built for the trenches with the versatility to play in odd or even fronts. He's first into contact with his hands and mitigates average knee bend with brute force in his upper half. He's powerful to set edges, but lacks length to control and quickly shed NFL blockers. He's an effort rusher with active hands who can exploit a weak edge and thrive in gaming fronts, but possesses average creativity. Robinson might not be a star, but his effort, strength, and demeanor could make him a productive pro for years to come. Get me that kind of guy right there at the top of the fourth round, and I'll be a happy Browns fan. All right, skip the fifth round because we don't have that pick anymore. Thanks, Kenny Pickett. 179, the third pick in the sixth round. The Browns take Joshua Gray, offensive guard out of Oregon State. It's time to address the other side of the trenches with that offensive line. Joshua Gray is 6'5", 300 pounds. Couldn't find an exact age. Some of these prospects, it isn't out there, which usually tells you he's probably 23 or older. He did start for 5 years in college, but his profile, man, this could be a value pick if he's available in the sixth round. I'm picking these guys where they're being projected based on the mock draft database. So I'm not reaching for anybody based on where the ADP is at with the database, but they say he's a team captain and 5-year starter who can best be described as tough, strong, and reliable. A majority of Gray's nearly 4,000 snaps came at left tackle. There we go. We got some versatility here for the Browns. But he moved to guard in 2024 and proved he was more than capable. He has average size but good point of attack strength. He can generate movement during the sustained phase of the block and fits into all run blocking schemes. We need run blocking, especially for Caleb Johnson. Let's get this thing going. The pass protection posture looks good, and he's generally accurate with his punch, but displays surprisingly average reactive athleticism to mirror movement and recover when he's beaten. Gray has more work to do at the guard position, but his intelligence, strength, and durability, big things right there, will make him a favorite of offensive line coaches. I really like Joshua Gray. I think he's a great prospect. I think he'd be a great fit for the Browns offensive line. He's a guy that you grab here, you add him to your depth roster for the offensive line. He kind of plays a multitude of positions. He can fill in at tackle if you really need him to. He can fill in at either guard spot if you need him to. And then he's the type of guy that's got the traits, the internal drive, the work ethic, and everything to develop into a good starter for your offensive line in the future. So I think that would be an awesome pick to take here in the 6th round. Okay, so the Browns now have 3 more picks in the 6th round, and here at 192, the 16th pick in this round, they are going to add a little lightning to Caleb Johnson's thunder with Brashard Smith, the running back out of SMU. 5'10", 194 pounds, 21 years old, another young running back. Now, Brashard Smith, NFL profile here says, undersized running back, 5'10", 194. He transferred from Miami and switched positions from wide receiver to running back. So we have seen some of these guys, Antonio Gibson, Tyrone Tracy, some of these guys who have, played receiver, switch to running back and have some success at the NFL level. So Brashard Smith lacks ideal size and displays some hesitation in his early reads, but he is slippery over the first 2 levels, using quick cuts and spin moves to elude tacklers. He has a feel for finding soft spots along the interior, but has average speed to turn the corner on wide runs. He could get pushed up a full round thanks to his ball skills and ability to run routes in space. He might not even be available here in the 6th round. Smith shined as a kick returner at Miami and will likely get that chance in the pros as a 3rd down back with room for development. So he ran the 40 at the combine, 4.39. He would be, in my opinion, the perfect complement to Caleb Johnson. Now, for a smaller back, the dude was a freaking workhorse in 2024. So don't let the size kind of make you think that in college he was only a 3rd down back or whatever. That's not the case. He had 235 carries this past season, piled up 1,332 yards and 14 touchdowns. And in the pass catching side of things, which I love, 39 catches, 327 additional yards, and 4 more touchdowns. He was a top 10 in receptions for running backs in 2024 in the entire nation. And if they take Brashard Smith, after they take Caleb Johnson, the Browns would be adding 35 collegiate rushing touchdowns to the roster from last season with those 2 players. This is the way you remake your backfield. And just I've heard analysts break down some of these running backs. Brashard Smith was a guy at the Senior Bowl who popped. He stood out. He made some flashes, caught some attention there. And I would just be thrilled if the Browns were able to tag team this running back position with a guy like Caleb Johnson and followed up with Brashard Smith. Okay, let's roll these last few picks here. So at pick 200, pick 24 in the 6th round, we are going to take, again, I believe that this was my pick in mock 1.0, but we're taking Dante Trader Jr., the safety out of Maryland. The Browns have no safety depth whatsoever. We've added nothing in free agency. I don't know what the plan is there. It's Delpit and Ronnie Hickman, and that's it. D'Anthony Bell signed on with Seattle. They cut Juan Thornhill, Jog Thornhill. I don't know what we're doing at safety. So we've got to, at some point, address it in the draft. And right here at 200, we do it with Dante Trader, 5'11", 196. Again, his profile. Dual sport athlete whose film shows off plus instincts but average consistency. Trader is a versatile cover safety capable of lining up at nickel, playing single high, or lurking in the role of a robber. He's quick to read and respond to the quarterback's eyes in operation, attacking throws at a disruptive angle whenever he can. He's athletic with a good short area burst, but his play speed in large spaces is about average. He's quick to diagnose and race downhill, but is more of a worker than a true enforcer in run support. Trader's football character and scheme versatility help his cause. He has a chance to earn a spot as a backup. Give me Dante Trader. There's multiple guys on this mock draft here that in their profile that's talked about their football IQ, their work ethic, their demeanor, their football character. These are the type of guys we need to start getting in here, especially in these later rounds to fill these backup roles, because they're the type of guys like a Ronnie Hickman, who was a UDFA, who can develop into a potential starter for you, or at least a good fill-in backup type of player. So that's what we need here in the 6th round. And another one of those players here at pick 216, just 16 picks later, pick 40 at the end of the 6th round, the Browns take, and again, a guy that I believe was in my mock 1.0, Luke Lachey, the tight end out of Iowa, 6'6", 250 pounds, 23 years old. Just like safety, I don't know what the Browns are doing at tight end. We've got David Njoku and Blake Whiteheart on the practice squad. Whew, that's it. We have signed nobody. I don't know what we're doing. We've only ever drafted one guy with Andrew Berry at the tight end position, so it's just tough for me to mock a tight end super high like a Harold Fannin, which would be great, or some of these other guys that people are high on in this tight end class because there are just receivers you can have at those spots that I like better. There are running backs that we could use more. So I don't know what we're going to do at tight end, but a guy like Luke Lachey later in the draft makes a lot of sense. His father, Jim, was an All-American offensive lineman at, the Ohio State, first-round pick of the Chargers in 1985, and a 3-time All-Pro. Also won Super Bowl 25 with the Washington Redskins. So he's got those NFL bloodlines. He comes from tight end U. Pull the trigger. Let's just see what we got. So he's a combination tight end capable of lining up inline or as a move tight end. While Lachey can do both, he lacks the core strength and consistency of a typical wide tight end and has average quickness to escape man coverage on the next level. He has experience operating underneath and as an intelligent target, using proper leverage in his routes and good body control along with strong hands when he's contested. He has NFL size but needs to prove he can more consistently sustain as a run blocker in order to become a trustworthy 3-down player in the league. That's not what we need right now. We got David Njoku who can do those things. But if you got a guy, what did it say here? He's got experience operating underneath. He's got proper leverage in his routes, good body control, strong hands, makes contested catches. That's what I want. That's what I want at my tight end 2 spot. And, maybe we'll still sign somebody who can kind of be tight end 2A, tight end 2B, whatever. But I like Luke Lachey. I've liked him this entire process, and I'm going to keep mocking him because I like him. So let's see if the Browns can somehow come away with him here in the later rounds. 2024, 28 catches, 231 yards. His college production, nothing enormous, just 74 total catches over the career, 4 total touchdowns in his college career. But at the end of the 6th round, like I said before, give me a tight end from Iowa, tight end U. He's got the NFL bloodlines, so that is absolutely a bet that you can make at this point. And then we'll wrap up the draft here at 255, the 35th pick in the 7th round. We're going to add another linebacker to the core with Francisco Mauigoa. I don't know if I'm saying these names right, but he's the linebacker out of Miami, 6'2", 233 pounds. Profile: productive 3-year starter with the frame and physicality of a throwback banger. Mauigoa is limited athletically, but he works around it using his football intelligence. There we go again. And his feel for blocking schemes. He's proactive downhill, but a little slow to patrol sideline to sideline, and he lacks the agility to tackle shifty runners in space. He's too limited for 3rd down duties as a pro, so he'll have to prove he's a capable backup as a 2-down run thumper and quality special teams player. We're like 5 picks away from the end of the draft here, so that's as good a bet as any here at the end of the 7th round. And that will wrap up mock 4.1. Now, I still got 4.2 coming your way, so stay tuned for that. But just to recap here, in 4.1, we went at pick 2, Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. Pick 33, Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. 67 was Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. We have solidified some offensive skill positions, some desperately needed positions on this offense. And then at pick 94, we switch over to defense, take the edge rusher out of UCLA, Oluwafemi Oladejo. And then 10 picks later, we continue to attack the defensive line. Ty Robinson, defensive tackle out of Nebraska. Back over to offense, fortify the future of our trenches in the 6th round at 179 with Joshua Gray, the offensive guard, who can also fill in a tackle if we need him to, from Oregon State. We stay offense, continue to build up the playmaker positions. 192, Brashard Smith, running back out of SMU. Back over to defense for pick 200, Dante Trader, the safety out of Maryland. And then we get the last skill position we really have to address, and it's tight end at 216, Luke Lachey out of Iowa. And we end things with the linebacker out of Miami, Francisco Mauigoa. And that is your Browns mock 4.1 draft here ahead, less than a month now from the NFL draft actually taking place. So let me know what you guys think about 4.1 here. I'm going to wrap this one up. I'm going to tie a little bow on it, and then we are going to kick it over to 4.2 here in just a minute. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and make sure you check out 4.2 coming up next.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Baden Sports. Browns fans, Baden Sports is your one-stop shop for all your athletic gear. Baden started out perfecting and manufacturing the best balls in the business. Yeah, if that sounded dirty, that's more about your mind than my words. But hey, it's true. Baseballs, softballs, footballs, basketballs, volleyballs, soccer balls, you name it, and Baden has engineered the highest standard sports balls available. And now they offer more than just sports balls. If you got kids playing baseball or softball, Baden has batting gloves and bats to go along with both game balls and training balls. If you're into basketball, Baden makes basketball specifically for indoor or outdoor use. Heck, Baden even has all the equipment you need for pickleball, which is one sport that I hear everyone is playing and yet I still never have. And I need to fix that soon. But don't miss the backyard games section of Baden's website where you can order everything you need for this upcoming outdoor season. Pool balls, backyard volleyball nets, croquet, bocce, horseshoes, cornhole, and more. Right now, you can get 10% off your entire order at Baden Sports, BADEN sports.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use promo code DOGS when you check out. That's 10% off all the top quality sporting gear you need this season. BadenSports.com/dogs.